friends, Marci here. I'm going to be focusing in on the pelvis today and what the heck our pelvis is doing as we move through practice. So before we get started, I want you to do something for me. Just stand up nice and tall with your feet underneath your hips. Take your middle and your ring fingers and dig in, and I want you to find the front rim of your pelvis. Then I want you to take your thumbs and find the bottom ribs. So standing up tall here, just take a moment, notice the space between the top of the hips and the bottom of the ribs. Good. Now I want you to stretch your fingers and thumbs away from each other so that you're pushing the front of your pelvis forward. And just notice how that feels as you increase the space between your ribs and the front of your pelvis. Maybe you notice your butt suddenly started to stick out. Good. Now do the opposite. I want you to pull up on the front of your hips and squeeze in and decrease the space between the bottom ribs and the top of your pelvis. And maybe here you start to feel a little bit of core engagement, and maybe you feel a little bit of your glutes starting to activate. Good. Now go ahead and come back to that default or that neutral pelvis. Good. So come with me to the mat and lay down so we can get started. Bend your knees, plant your feet on the mat, and just relax here for a bit. So some of the poses that we do today, we're going to want the front of the pelvis to be moving toward the tops of the thighs. For some of the poses, we're going to want the front of the pelvis to be moving up toward the ribs. And for some of the poses, we're going to want to be in that default neutral spine. Take a moment here while you're on your back just to feel the places in your body that are connecting to the ground. Feel the back of the head. Feel the backs of the shoulders. Feel the backs of the hips. Good. You can feel the feet, maybe the backs of the hands. Now pay attention to the spaces in between. So feel the space at the neck, at your cervical spine. And feel that space at your low back, the lumbar spine. Good. And then just like I had you do standing, take your middle and your ring fingers. Find the front of your hips and find the bottom of your ribs. From here, I want you to lift up on the front of the pelvis, lift up and pull the front of the pelvis closer to the bottom of your ribs. Feel how that flattened your low back. Good. Now stretch the space between the two. So the front of the pelvis now is moving down toward the thighs. And feel that increase in space at your low back. Good. Now one more time. Pull the front of the pelvis up toward the bottom ribs. Feel that low back flatten. Good. Maintain that action. From here, go ahead and lift the backs of the hips off the mat and then start to roll the spine up as well. So come into a nice easy bridge pose. Good. Let's roll down nice and slowly as well. So lower vertebrae by vertebrae until you feel the backs of the hips. Good. 2 more times. So front rim of the pelvis is going to lift up toward the ribs and then continue to press through the feet and come all the way up into a nice gentle bridge. Good. And then nice and easy lower back down. From here, bring your thighs to your chest. Go ahead and roll onto your side and press up. And then meet me on all fours. So bring your palms underneath your shoulders and bring your knees underneath your hips. From here, I want you to send the front rim of your pelvis down toward the mat. Good. Now lift your chest. Come into cow pose. Nice. Now I want you to take the front rim of your pelvis, lift it up toward the bottom ribs, And then go ahead and round the spine and draw your chin to your chest. Let's do this breath and movement. Inhale, lift the chest, let the front of the hips drop down toward the mat. Exhale, round the spine, front of the hips are drawing up toward the bottom ribs. 2 more times. Inhale, cow pose. And exhale, cat pose. Good. Now inhale, come into a neutral spine. So space between the ribs and the pelvis is default. Send the right leg back. Firm the thigh, firm the glute. Notice if you lifted that leg, if it sended the front of the pelvis down toward the mat. Pull the front of the hips up just a little bit, bringing them to neutral. And then reach the left arm forward, bringing your bicep by your ear. Spinal balance. Good. Coming back to all fours. Other side. Send the left leg back. Firm the thigh, firm the glute. Notice if that sent your front of your hips down toward the mat. Pull the front rim of the pelvis up. And then bring the right arm to the front of your mat. Bicep by the ear. Spinal balance. Good. Coming back to all fours. From here, walk both hands about 1 palm's distance forward of the shoulders. Tuck your toes and then lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. And from here, we'll just pedal out the feet, loosen up the backs of the legs. Stretch your fingers wide, press through your palms. And then find a still downward dog. Good, so hands are creating the action as if they're trying to move the mat forward and down. Use that action to lift the hip creases up and back. Front of the hips, the front of the pelvis, your hips are flexed, so you should be feeling the front of the hips moving a little bit more toward the thigh bones. But if you feel the ribs moving away from your hips, pull the ribs down just a little bit for a nice strong core. Good. Inhale, lift your right leg up. As you exhale, step the foot all the way through and drop your left knee to the mat. If having your knee down on the mat is problematic, again, you can fold the mat in half or you can grab a towel. A couple times, we're just going to straighten this right leg and then rebend it. So just get some movement into the legs. Start to loosen things up. Shake off some rust. Not that any of you all are rusty out there. I'm sure you're not. I am, though, always. Good. Go ahead and shift forward into this lunge. Knee is coming over the ankle. Walk your hands up to the thigh. Bring your shoulders right over your hips. Same thing. I want you to take your fingers, dig in, find that front rim of your pelvis. Then with your thumbs, find the bottom ribs. Lift the pelvis up, really just bringing it to neutral. Good. Maintain that. And then hands can rest at the thigh or you can stretch them up, low lunge. Nice steady breath. Good. As you exhale, bring your hands down, step back to downward facing dog. These split stances, these low lunges, we have the tendency to move the pelvis forward and down. And so all I'm really having you do is lift it back up into neutral. Good. From downward dog, lift the left leg up. Exhale, step the foot all the way through, right knee to the mat. Fold your mat over if you need to. And just a few times, shift back and shift forward. As you're ready, shift forward. Walk your hands up to the thigh. Bring your shoulders over your hips. And then dig in. Find the front rim of your pelvis. Bring your thumbs to the bottom ribs. Notice if the space has increased. And if so, lift the front rim of the pelvis up. Again, just bringing it to neutral. From here, you can rest your hands at your thigh or stretch up. Low lunge. Good. As you exhale, bring your hands to the mat and step back to downward facing dog. Inhale in your downward dog. As you exhale, drop your knees down to the mat. You can unhook your toes. And then I want you to move your shoulders over your wrists. So you're coming into a modified plank here. Press through your palms. And then in your modified plank, without taking your hands to dig into your pelvis, lift the front rim of your pelvis up a little bit closer to the bottom ribs. Good. Create the action as if your bottom ribs are trying to pull down and in towards your pelvis. So nice strong core here. And then as you're ready, start to bend the elbows and lower all the way down to the mat. Good. Hands by the ribs. As you inhale, lift the chest for a little cobra pose. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Good. We're going to move into some salutations here. On your inhale, look to the top of your mat. And then as you exhale, step or hop or walk into your fold. Good. From your forward fold, let the knees bend. Maybe grab opposite elbows. You can shake your head. Good. And then come to center. Bringing your fingers to the front of your legs. I want you to press through the feet. Lift the chest. Come up halfway. Good. So chest is lifting. Shoulders are drawing back. Front of the hips are moving toward the thigh bones because the hips are flexed. But take the ribs and pull them down and in just a little bit so core is tight. Good. As you exhale, fold. And then a little bend in the knees. Press into the ground. Come all the way up to standing. Palms come together. Bring the thumbs to your breastbone. So we're going to be focusing in on the breath primarily. But we're also going to be looking at, especially as we move through these lunge salutations, lifting the front of the pelvis up and bringing the pelvis into neutral or into that default. Starting out with just a half sun A. Nice long inhale through the nose. Stretch the arms forward and come up. Good. As you exhale, move the hands through heart center and fold. Press through the feet. Inhale, halfway lift. Refold as you exhale. Good. Drive through your feet. Come all the way back up to standing. Inhale. Hands together at your heart. Exhale. One more, just like that. Inhale, stretch the arms up. Exhale, fold. Good. Press through the feet. Half lift, long spine. And then refold. Exhale. Good. Drive through your legs. Inhale, come to standing, reaching the fingers to the sky. And then bring the hands together as you exhale, thumbs to your breastbone. All right. Low lunge salutation, same breath pace. Inhale, stretch the arms up. As you exhale, fold, hinging at the hips. Good. Inhale, press through the feet, lift up halfway. Exhale, step the right leg back, drop the right knee to the ground. Inhale, come up into your lunge, lift the front rim of the pelvis up. Exhale, hands to the mat, step into your downward facing dog. Good. Inhale and down dog. As you exhale, lower the knees, come to a modified plank by moving the shoulders forward. Good. Inhale in your plank, front rim of the pelvis is lifting up. Exhale, lower to the ground for cobra pose. Inhale, cobra, lift your chest. Then exhale, push back to downward facing dog. Good, really nice here. Let's continue on. Inhale, right leg lifts. As you exhale, step the foot all the way through, left knee to the ground. Inhale, come up into the lunge. As you do, lift the front rim of the pelvis. Exhale, frame your foot and step up into your forward fold. Good. Inhale, long spine, half lift. Refold as you exhale. Push through the feet to come all the way to standing as you inhale. As you exhale, bring your hands together at your heart. Same thing, left leg's gonna lead this round. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Let the front of the hips move over the thighs. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step your left leg back, left knee to the mat. Inhale, come into your lunge, front rim of the pelvis lifts up. Exhale, frame your foot and step into downward facing dog. Good, stay here, inhale. Exhale, knees down, shoulders over wrists. Inhale in your plank. Exhale, lower to the mat for cobra pose. Good, inhale, cobra, lift the chest. And then down dog as you exhale. Last lunge like this. As you inhale, lift your left leg up. Step the foot all the way through, right knee down as you exhale. Good, inhale, come into your lunge, front rim lifts up. Exhale, hands to the mat, step into your fold. Inhale, half lift, press through the feet, lift the chest. Refold as you exhale, and then inhale, drive through the legs, come all the way back up. Bring the palms together as you exhale, thumbs to the breastbone. All right, let's do just a couple sun salutations and then we'll move on. As you inhale, stretch up. As you exhale, move the hands through heart center as you fold. Half lift as you inhale. As you exhale, bend the knees, plant the palms, step to downward facing dog. Good, inhale, down dog. Exhale, lower the knees and shift into your modified plank. Inhale in your modified plank, front rim of the pelvis is moving toward the ribs. And then exhale, lower down for cobra. Inhale, cobra, lift the chest. Good, down dog as you exhale. Take a couple of cycles of breath here in down dog just to check in. Maintain the breath and just take a moment and feel your body. We'll do one more sun A. Good. As you inhale, look between the hands. And then exhale, step or walk into your fold. Good. Inhale, press through the feet and come up halfway. Ardha Uttanasana, half lift. Exhale, refold. Good. Drive through the feet, come all the way to standing as you inhale. And this time as you exhale, come right back down into your fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, step to downward facing dog. Inhale in your down dog. As you exhale, lower the knees, shift the shoulders forward. Inhale in your plank, nice strong core, ribs pull down and in. And then exhale, lower all the way down for cobra. Good, inhale, cobra. And then exhale, push back into a child's pose. You can take the knees wide, or you can keep the thighs together. And if this pose isn't working for you, you can find another resting posture. Good, we're going to move on here. We'll move through some other poses and pay a little more attention to what our pelvis is doing. So from your child's pose, press up and meet me in downward facing dog. Good. From downward dog, inhale, look between the hands. Go ahead and exhale, step or hop or walk into a forward fold. From your forward fold, bend the knees and drop the hips back behind the heels. And then inhale, lift the chest, come up and do a chair pose here. Good, steady breath here, feel your feet. And then notice what your pelvis is doing. Right, so your hips are bent, your hips are in flexion, so your pelvis is getting kind of close to your thighs, and that's fine. Notice what your ribs are doing. If the ribs are poking out, draw them down and in like they want to get a little bit closer to your hips. They're like, don't go toward the thighs, stay with us. Good, hands can stay at the heart or you can stretch them up by the ears. One more inhale. And then exhale, fold. Good. From here, I want you to step the right leg back. Big step back. We're going to come into a high lunge here. This first lunge, I want you to bend that left knee. And then like we did in the low lunge, come up to the thigh. I said left knee. It's your right knee that you need to bend. Good. Both knees are bent. From here, dig into the front rim of the pelvis. Lift the front rim of the pelvis up toward the ribs. Again, you're just bringing it into neutral from an anterior tilt. Stay here with the hands at the thigh or fingers to the sky, crescent lunge. Good. As you exhale, reach for the mat and step back into your forward fold. From here, another ragdoll. Let the knees bend, sway a little bit side to side. Good. Come to center. Bend the knees, drop the hips behind the heels. Come back to chair pose, so lift the chest. Good. And then from your chair pose, if it's not too pinchy on the shoulders, stretch the arms forward and up. Notice if that action created the front ribs to bow out. And if it did, pull them down and in just a little bit, just like they're trying to get a little bit closer to the tops of the hips. Good. As you exhale, fold. Step the left leg back, coming into a high lunge. Put a little bend in this left knee, walk it up to the thigh. Tendency is for the hips to move forward and down. We want to bring them to neutral. So dig in and lift them up. Good. Keep that. Hands at the thigh or stretch the arms up. Good. As you exhale, hands to the mat, step into your fold. Inhale, press through the feet, lift the chest, come up halfway. And then exhale, plant the palms, downward facing dog. Good. Nice steady breath in downward dog. From here, inhale, lift the right leg up. As you exhale, step that foot all the way through. So we're coming back to a high lunge, but we're going to take it to warrior one. So instead of staying on the ball of that left foot, I want you to spin the left heel down and then come on up. You can pause at the thigh here, shoulders over the hips. Good. From here, straighten this right leg, just like we've been doing this whole time. Find the front of the hips. Dig in, lift up. Good. Keep your hands here, lifting the front rim of the pelvis up. But now rebend that right knee. Get as low as you can without feeling that shift of the hips moving forward. Keep them lifting up. And then stretch the arms forward and up. Warrior one. Good. Chest is rotating toward that right leg until it stops. This left hip is rotating toward that right hip until it stops. Nice. As you're ready, frame the foot, lift the left heel, step into downward facing dog. Same thing, other leg. Lift the left leg up as you inhale. Step it all the way through. Big stance here for this high lunge. Right heel's going to spin down. We're going to warrior one. Go ahead and just come up to the thigh. And then straighten the leg. Dig in. Find the front rim of the pelvis. Pull up. Good. Keep that. Rebend the knee. Get as low as you can in your lunge, in your warrior one, without sending the hips forward and down. Keep them lifting up. As you're ready, arms stretch up. Chest is turning toward that left leg until it stops. Right hip is turning toward the left hip until it stops. Good, steady breath. And then exhale, frame the foot, lift the right heel, and find downward facing dog. Good, couple cycles of breath in down dog. Feel the body. We just got one more set of standing poses and then we'll start to move our way down to the floor. So inhale, lift the right leg up. As you exhale, step the foot all the way through. And then we're going to go to warrior two. So you're going to spin that left heel down, bringing your right heel in line with your left heel, and your left toes at about a 45-degree angle. Inhale, come up into your warrior two. Good. And then like we did in the first round with warrior one, straighten the leg. Take your hands to the front of your hips. This time, what happens is that the right hip drops down and the left hip is up. So what I want you to do is dig in and level off your hips so that right hip and left hip are at the same height. Good. Keep that. Rebend that right knee and then stretch the arms out. Steady breath here, warrior two, gazing over the top right hand. Nice. As you're ready, reach for your mat, pivot onto the ball of the left foot, and come to downward facing dog. All right, warrior two on the left. Left leg lifts as you inhale. Step the foot all the way through and spin the back heel down. So left heel, right heel line up. Right toes are angled toward the top right corner of your mat. You can come up to the thigh first and then stretch your arms. Good. So a lot of times people have this front hip dropping down and this back hip lifting up. We don't want that. So let's straighten this left leg. Find those hips. Lift this left hip up just so it's at the height of the right. Maintain that. Rebend the knee. Get as low as you can without sending the hip down. Good. So hips, left hip and right hip are level, same height. Arms are stretching wide. Steady gaze over that left hand. Good. One more inhalation. And then as you exhale, reach for the mat, lift the right heel, and take it back to downward facing dog. Good. Breath or two in, down dog. Just check in. And then as you're ready, go ahead and drop down to the knees. Lift your feet off the mat, cross your ankles, and then you're going to roll back into a seat. Good. From here, we're going to go ahead and do a few rounds of bridge pose where we started class. So go ahead and lower down onto your back. Plant your feet on the mat about hips distance. Arms can start out just by your side. Actually, I take that back. Let's go ahead and dig into the front of the hips. Find the bottom of the ribs. Pull up on the front rim of the pelvis. Feel the low back flatten and press into the mat. Good. I want you to maintain that. Now drive through the feet to lift the hips up. Good. From here, you can keep the arms by your side, or you can bend the elbows, shift some weight into the left arm, and bring the right arm underneath the body. Then shift a little bit into the right and bring the left arm under the body. From here, you can interlace your hands behind the back. Good. Keep the breath steady. Glutes are firm. Core is strong. A lot of work in the posterior part of your body. Good. As you're ready, let that go. Walk your feet out wide, so as wide as your mat, and then let your knees drop in. We're going to do that one more time. So as you're ready, round two. Bring your feet back in about hips distance. Dig into the front rim of your pelvis. Pull the front rim of your pelvis up toward the bottom ribs. Feel that flattened low back. Now press through the feet and come into your bridge. So hips are off the mat. Glutes are nice and firm, hips are fully extended, core is strong as well. So ribs aren't popping up, they're pulling down. And then you can shimmy the shoulders underneath the body. Good. Keep the breath steady here as if you were still moving through salutations. So deep inhalations through the nose, deep exhalations through the nose. Nice. And when you've had enough, go ahead and lower back down. Two options. You can do what we just did, feet wide, knees fall in, or soles of the feet together, knees fall open for a Baddha Konasana. What I want you to find is a neutral spine and a neutral pelvis. So like we did at the beginning of the class, observe the points of contact that you're making on the mat. Feel the back of your head, feel the backs of your shoulders, feel the backs of the hips, and you can pay attention to what the feet are doing. Notice the spaces between, so notice that curve at your neck. Notice that curve at the low back. Good. If you're in Baddha Konasana, you can take your hands outside your thighs, bring your legs together, feet on the mat. Take your right ankle to your left knee. We're going to come into a reclined pigeon. You can stay right here, or you can reach behind your thigh, your left thigh, and bring the leg closer to the body. What I want you to have, though, is a neutral spine and a neutral pelvis. So if you feel as though your hips are off the mat, if you feel as if your low back is flattened, it is not in neutral. Drive the backs of the hips down. If you need to, drop the leg down if that's what you need to do to get it done. Good. Let this go and switch. So left ankle, right thigh. And then if you'd like, catch the back of your right thigh, but keep the backs of the hips on the mat. So press the sacrum down into the mat. Let the low back be in its natural curve, slightly lifted. Again, if you're not able to get the spine in neutral or the hips in neutral, drop the foot. Come back to here. Totally fine. Good. And then go ahead and let that go. From here, I want you to lift both knees up. Bring the knees wide, so toward the underarms. Soles of the feet toward the ceiling. Catch your inner foot. Happy baby pose. Rock a little bit side to side. Good. And then from here, let go of the feet. Wrap your arms around your shins. Curl up into a tiny little ball here. So yes, go ahead and let your spine round. And then as you exhale, find Shavasana. Legs extend. Arms relax by your side. Nice steady breath. If laying flat like this is not happy for your back, I recommend bending the knees, bringing the feet wide and letting the knees fall in toward one another as we just did. Otherwise, go ahead and just let yourself totally release here. I won't keep you here very long, but allow yourself a little bit of stillness before returning to your day. If you would like to stay in Shavasana a little bit longer, I invite you to stay. If you're ready to come out, do so slowly. So toes wiggle, fingers wiggle. Maybe start to take it into the wrists and ankles. So circle the wrists and ankles. Start to take some deeper breaths. As you inhale, stretch overhead. As you exhale, bend your knees and roll onto your side. Pausing here, just resting on your side long enough to appreciate how your body feels. As you're ready, go ahead and press up to a seat. Let's breathe a round of breath together. Hands to the heart as you inhale, fill up, grow tall. And then let it go as you exhale. Bringing the thumbs to third eye center. I bow forward to honor you. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste. Thank you so much.